Okay, second pillar, of course, diet. Super, super important. And I'm gonna make it very, very simple. How to understand diet. Diet made simple. This is what we call the eating end of the horse. This is called the other end of the horse. Okay? So things go through. And what is very important to make things very, very simple is that somewhere here in the gut, if a horse has healthy gut flora, he's going to be able to process nutrients. It's not too much about quantity, it's about quality. So he needs to get the good nutrients that's going to allow him to build a healthy body, and that includes the hoofs, of course. Now, if a horse is not on a proper diet, here somewhere he's going to develop an unhealthy gut flora, and the problem is he's going to start accumulating toxins. Okay, what happens when a horse accumulates toxins? Well, he's going to deposit them in different places. When there are toxins to be dumped, the horse brings them into his extremities. So the places of his body that are supposed to be renewed. A clever way to get rid of these toxins. And that explains poor hoof quality. And that explains as well, in a lot of cases, hoof abscesses. So very often we say, oh, there's an abscess, yeah, the horse must have hit his foot, and then it turned into an infection, then it's being pushed out. Yeah, that happens. Very often it's coming from higher in the body, it's something that has to be thrown out. And it's a healthy process to have it pushed out. I like this kind of pictures because that shows you pretty well what is a healthy diet for a horse. The ideal food for a horse is poor, diversified, and constantly available. We're going to break that down. Poor in opposition of rich. Horses, it's not the same than cows. We usually mix them up when it comes to, oh yeah, they graze, you put them in the field, it's the same thing. Horses actually have evolved to thrive on a very, very sparse and poor diet. So they can actually extract nutrients from just grass, hay, so like dry grass, a variety of different plants, but they are very good at cutting with their teeth the plant very short and extracting nutrients. So they do better on a poor diet. Next thing, when they are on open spaces, they have access to a variety of different plants. So horses are going to eat grass, yeah, of course, all sorts of different grass, many different species, plenty of different plants, leaves, bark. They're going to be digging rocks out to lick the minerals, all of them. They're going to break the ice in the winter to get access to water. So horses have the ability to find in their environment what is needed for them. There's been cases of horses being seen eating a toxic plant. First thing you think is like, oh, is that horse stupid? Why is he eating that toxic plant? He should not spend his whole life out there. Well, actually, they will eat only small quantities because that plant could have an anti-inflammatory effect. So the horse is eating just what he needs to solve a problem that he has inside his body. So they do better when they have access to a diversity of plants. Now, one more thing, we want their food to be constantly available. Horses have a relatively small stomach, and they graze by what we call bouts. So an hour and a half of eating grass, eating fibers, and they fill up their stomach, and then they reach what we call satiety. So the feeling, oh, I'm not hungry anymore. So then, you can have a horse that have constant access to food. He decides when he wants to eat, because he fills his stomach. Once that is full, he goes and does something else, drink, play, snooze, sleep, whatever. And then once his stomach gets empty or close to empty, he's going to go back and eat. In opposition, a lot of horses get rich / ultra rich food, so that's concentrated pellets, for example. No diversity, is the same thing every day, it's the same bucket, it's the same scoop that we take from these different bags. And then served at meals. So the problem is, we love meals, okay? We're going to eat at 6 o'clock, gather, have a lot of food, and then we rest. But horses don't do that. If their stomach goes empty, the acid that is in the stomach is going to splash on the walls, and it's going to create ulcers, which is, I think, the number 1 or number 2 killer of domestic horses. So they don't do well with meals. What they need is fiber constantly available. Obviously, when I talk about a slim horse, that's very important to be able to notice. I'm not talking about this. This is a bit scary. The poor thing here, you can see the ribs, but there's no more muscle there. There's a very, very skinny neck. So we're not talking about this. Now, here we'll be already closer to a slim horse. And when I talk about a slim horse, I want you to imagine like a professional athlete, like a top level a sport player. That's what a horse can reach when he's healthy and slim. Okay. Usually, when a horse will be stretching forward his forelimb, if he is slim, you're going to be able to see his ribs here. When he turns his head that way, on the opposite side, you're going to be able to see his ribs. Think about a marathon champion, okay, and how healthy that guy would look like if he was shirtless. But these two horses here, the previous one and this one, they are still fairly slim. We don't see that many of these horses. What we see usually is something that looks like that. So you can barely see the muscles. You can still see a little bit of the bones. In the old days, we used to say we want to see muscles and bones, no fat. Well, here, there are fat deposits all over the body, and a very dangerous sign, a crusty neck. Right there. There's no muscle there, huh? So a lot of people tell me like, oh, it's just the muscle of the neck. Like, there's no muscle there. So if there's something over there, it's a bag of fat. Very, very scary situation. Whenever I drive around Denmark and I see overweight horses eating short grass, I'm like, okay, this is a ticking bomb. For the barefoot trimmers, like, it's a matter of time before that horse is going to get into very, very serious trouble with his feet, because the same process that is getting the horse overweight will eventually destroy his feet. It is extremely important to make sure horses don't go overweight. When they do, you're basically crippling your horse. And there is no amount of barefoot trimming that's going to get you rid of situation like laminitis, for example. If the diet and the movement are not right, well, what the barefoot trimmer is going to be able to do is only limiting the damage. And what I'm saying right now is not to take away the responsibility of the barefoot trimmer. It is to empower the horse owner and to tell you, you have in your hands the power to get your horse healthy. So these are the two pillars, movement and diet. There could be way more things to talk about when it comes to diet. Short grass, long grass, what time of the day are the carbohydrates the highest. All this stuff super complex. We can talk about it later if you want to, and I can send you to websites that are collecting a lot of super useful information. But this is the basic. Poor, which means low carbs, high fiber diet, diversified, so access for the horses to many different plants and sources of food, and constantly available. The opposite is dangerous for the overall health of the horse, and especially our main focus today, the hoofs. Another example, when you start to see a horse like that, what I expect to see from his hoof is something like this. Okay, why? Well, I don't know how much you know about type 2 diabetes, but it is a lifestyle disease. Okay, so it's a little bit the same for horses. When we started to compare laminitic horses with people that have type 2 diabetes, we started to make steps forward towards solving the problem for horses when it comes to laminitis. That was 20 years ago. Do you know what is the main reason for people that have type 2 diabetes to actually be hospitalized? It was a light bulb moment whenever barefoot trimmer found out about that. It is broken nails, very unhealthy toes, and wounds that won't heal. Yeah. I was expecting like heart attacks. No, it's the main reason why they're being hospitalized. Well, that explains this sort of feet. That's the foot, but from underneath. So basically, you've seen that hoof before. What is happening here is that the toxins that come from higher up in the body are being dumped onto our golden line, that is called as well lamina, and that is the junction between our nail and the sole. So that's a glue that, if it's healthy, it keeps the top of the bone here, this parallel to your nail right there. But if that glue becomes unhealthy, what's going to happen is that it can't hold the wool well anymore, and this is going to happen. Okay? And that explains basically this. Imagine your own nail being held by a glue that is not very healthy. If on top of that you let it grow long, it's not going to look good. So one of the things we can do as trimmers is to keep the nail nice and short, so even though there is inflammation of the lamina, the glue that is holding the wool together is not very healthy, but if we maintain the wool, aka the nail, nice and short, we limit the damage. That's the same hoof 2 trimming cycles later. So here, the frog, non-existent. It's thrushy, it's deep, the nail is extremely long, breaking in some places but not breaking enough because the horse doesn't have access to hard surfaces. Plenty of bacteria here that are doing some damage. And then you see the difference with this frog. Here, we're far from having a pretty foot yet, but we've already developed way more the back of the foot. More about that in another chapter.